welcome to Neuqua Connection. My name is Kaylea, and here I am with my guest, Miss Lisa Traut, because as MEA like to tell us, teachers do indeed have first names. How are you today?
I'm good, thank you, Kaylea. How are you?
I'm doing pretty well. So just to start off, I know that you are a head department chair for the school. What does that entail?
I'm the department chair for 3 departments here at Neuqua: Media, Family Consumer Science, and Technology and Engineering. It entails a lot of different kinds of responsibilities, but I oversee those departments in a number of different ways, from evaluating teachers to overseeing the budget for those departments to helping the departments when they get to writing curriculum to hiring teachers. And I mean, there's so much more. We could probably spend 5 hours talking about those kinds of responsibilities.
Awesome. And then do those include long, boring meetings occasionally?
Yes, they do. Not always boring, but more so probably informative. Every week we have administrative meetings here at Neuqua where it's our principal and assistant principals, as well as all of the department chairs, and a few other lead and important people, some of our deans, some of our social workers. And we talk about everything that's happening here at the school, from budgets and how we're spending our money to activities and events that are coming up and those types of things, as well as what's happening in the classroom and working with curriculum, working with creating the culture of the school. So there's all sorts of odds and ends of things that we will discuss during those meetings, from logistics to environments and culture.
And you obviously had to work your way up to this position, so how did you start out at Neuqua?
I started here at Neuqua in the fall of 2002 as a media teacher, and I was teaching 4 media classes, from Media 1, the Production 2 and 3, and even the journalism classes. So kind of had a hodgepodge and had my hand in all of it. And about 5 years in, actually a little bit before that, the department chair at the time, Mr. Joe Wagner, one of our principals had said he was retiring in a few years, and at that time I was thinking about going back to school and getting my master's degree. And I was speaking with our principal and saying, what should I get it in? Should I get it in curriculum and instruction? Should I get it in something else? He said, you should get it in school administration. And when he first said this to me, I looked at him and said, why? And he said, well, Joe is retiring in a few years. I think you'd be a great candidate for getting into that leadership role. So I went and got my master's in school administration and finished that in 2007. And then in the fall of 2007, I was named the department chair for those 3 areas.
That's amazing. So what got you into teaching and just media in general?
How I fell into teaching is kind of an interesting pathway. Teaching is a second career for me. When I was in college, when I first went to college, I went into college as a technical theater major. So all the behind-the-scenes stuff, building the sets, doing lights and sound, which I still love and wish I could do more of. There just needs to be more time in the day to do that. I went to Augustana College, and while I was there, I decided to add another major, and that was mass communications. I had taken a TV class in high school and really enjoyed it, really loved it, but decided to add that. Augustana at the time did not have a mass comm major. They do now, but they didn't have one at the time. And I didn't want to leave Augie, so I went to the head of the speech communications department, Dr. Snowball, and I said, this is what I want to do. How can we make this work? Because I really like Augustana, I don't want to leave. So we made it work. And so we, in a sense, kind of created a major for me. And I took some classes there, and I also took a few classes across the river at another college in Davenport, Iowa, but made it so that I was able to create this major. But the biggest thing that helped me was I did an internship my junior year at the local NBC affiliate there in Davenport, Iowa. That's where I learned so much, because it was hands-on, and I was getting my hands on everything. They were probably annoyed with me because I kept asking so many questions. But that internship, about 3 months after it ended, turned into a part-time job, which then turned into a full-time job. So by the time I was a senior in college, I was already working full-time. So taking a full load of classes and working full-time. Great experience. Stayed with that for a few years. But after about 4 or 5 years, I happened to be home one weekend and was picking up my brother from high school and got to talking to some folks there, because my brother went to the same high school I did. and was talking to some people there I still knew, and they happened to mention that they were looking for somebody to teach TV and to also do the technical theater stuff. And I went, oh, that's both of my majors. And they said, yeah, we know. So after talking with them for a bit, I decided to try something different. And so that's when I got into teaching. I never went to school to become a teacher. So I was kind of learning on the fly. And the way I was able to teach the class, all teachers have to have teacher certifications or teacher licenses. But because of my professional experience, the state of Illinois granted me a teaching license based on my professional experience. So there's some areas that they do that in. So that's how I was able to get certified to teach. Now the lucky thing was, and the funny thing was, is my brother was in the first TV class I ever taught. So it may sound weird, but it was a good thing because as I was going through lessons, I was able to say to him, did this make sense? Most of the time, fortunately, he said yes. There were a few times he said no. So to me, that was, okay, go back to the drawing board, refigure that lesson. But it was trial by fire, and I learned so much that first year. So I stayed at Libertyville for a few years, but I missed television. There was something about it. So I left there and got back into the industry, worked as a, I can't even remember the title, a graphics person at CLTV, which is Chicagoland Television. Excuse me. When they were in Oak Brook, it was a channel that was all on cable and all about Chicago news. And it was one of the first 24-hour local news stations that was really out there at that particular time. Worked there for a few years, then had the opportunity to launch ESPN News out in Bristol, Connecticut with ESPN Company. And being a diehard sports fan, I thought this would be amazing. So I had the chance to do that, accepted the job, moved out to Connecticut, and worked at ESPN full-time for a few years. But there was something about teaching that kept pulling me back. I found myself teaching my colleagues when we were doing stuff of this is how you do X, Y, Z. So teaching had always kind of been there. So I left ESPN full-time in Connecticut, moved back to Illinois, and started teaching at the Lake County High School's technology campus. So our students here at Neuqua go to TCD, the Technology Center of DuPage. I worked at the Lake County version of that up there in teaching television and was there for about 4 years while also still freelancing in television in the industry. So I was still on weekends or holidays hopping on a plane and going out to wherever to cover football, basketball, hockey games, whatever they'd pay me for, while still teaching. And after about 4 years at Lake County, I heard about this school somewhere south of where I was, up in Grays Lake, called Neuqua Valley. And I'm like, where is that? And made the trek down here and interviewed with Dr. Fuhrer, who was the English department chair at the time, and was offered the position. So I started here at Neuqua in 2002, so they were in their 5th year that the building was open. And so I have been here ever since.
Amazing.
So, yeah.
And then you mentioned freelancing. What did that entail for you? How did you balance that while also working?
There were times where it was hard because I was limited to only being able to work on weekends because I had a teaching job. So I could leave on a Friday night, go to an event, work on Saturday, and then fly home Saturday or on a Sunday. Summers were a little bit easier. What I did in the TV truck, I was a graphics operator and worked on a piece of equipment at first called Chiron, then it was called a Duet. What that is say you're watching a baseball game and someone comes up to bat and you see their stats on the screen, whether it's their at-bats or their home runs, RBI, whatever. I was typing that in the truck. Or before the game, maybe you see a comparison of 2 pitchers. I would type that all out. And then as the game goes on, all the graphics that you would see, maybe someone gets a home run and it's their 300th home run. I've got to be able to call up that graphic, make that graphic on the fly, and put that on the air while they're still running the bases. So things like that, and that's what I would do in the truck.
Awesome, that's so cool. So that's all the time we have today. Thank you guys so much for watching Neuqua Connection. My name is Kaylee Raymond. This has been Miss Traut. Thank you. Have a great night.